What's up, everybody? Today I'm here to review Give Yourself Goosebumps, book number 25 in the series, Shop Till You Drop Dead. Now, I was pretty excited to revisit this one because when I was a kid, this was one of my favorites from what I remembered. So I was excited to revisit it, and I'm happy to tell you that it holds up pretty well. This is probably still one of my favorites in the series. I still have quite a few books to read before I'm done, so I can't really say for sure. But I had a great time with this book. This is a really solid one for the most part. So, right up front, this one, I'm going to tell you, it reminds me a lot of Trick or Trapped. And I feel like this is what Trick or Trapped should have been. It utilizes kind of a similar game function to it a little bit. And this isn't a special edition. This is one of the earlier books in the series, one of the earlier Black Spines. And typically the special editions are the ones that have the most complex like gameplay aspects to them. A lot of these other ones don't really have that. There's a few of them that do, this one included. And this one does it right. So the primary story arc in this book is your friend bets you and another one of your friends that he makes a bet with you that you have to go into this mall and you have to stay in there from midnight till 1 o'clock in the morning. There's this rumor about this curse on the mall where monsters and creatures come to life in the mall and weird things happen between this time period, between midnight to 1 a.m. And so you make a bet with your friend that you have to stay in the mall for this time period and you have to collect each item or certain items from like each floor of the mall, different department stores. And this is also introduces kind of a gameplay aspect with the story arc where there are 7 different floors you have to visit and you have to basically kind of survive each one. Different things will happen in each floor that you visit, and you have to collect an item from every floor that you visit as proof that you were there and exploring them all and not just like hiding in a corner or something waiting for the time frame to be up to prove to your friend that you won the bet. So basically you move through all of these different floors, and then once you go through them, and you can go through them in any order you want. I'll even actually open up real quick and kind of show you what it looks like. So this is the page right here where you can move through all the different floors. There's even a list of like the items you have to collect. Hopefully you guys can see that okay. And you can go through them in any order. And there's actually one floor that you kind of have to go through in a certain order in order to survive it, I guess. Like an item you collect in one floor will help you out in another floor. But for the most part, it really doesn't matter. You can go in any order you want. But it makes you go, unlike Trick or Trapped, if you watch my review for that one, unlike that book where you can go through some of the houses and then it'll just skip you right to the end, this one you have to visit all the floors, and then you have to go to the final floor, the 7th floor, where you encounter what is called the final showdown, and you encounter basically this monster. The monster in the book is kind of described a bit differently than what we see here on the cover. But just for the sake of me describing it, it's kind of what he is, I guess, is what you see there on the cover. And all the different items and things that you've collected throughout the book, visiting these different floors, will help you out in this final battle against this monster. And then along the way, on top of that, there's puzzles you have to solve, things like that, decisions you have to make. And yeah, this one utilizes a really strong game function, is really solid. And this is what I look for in these types of books, is this kind of gameplay aspect that really makes these books fun, really makes them stand out from just a normal like story where you're just making decisions. There's a few different puzzles in here. I'll just kind of show you a couple of them real quick. If I can find them. There's like a maze you have to solve, and you have to do it in like a certain amount of time. There's like a word search. There's like some different things in here. And yeah, I really had a great time with this book. This one was just a lot of fun. And it's not necessarily all that challenging. I mean, it's really not that difficult. I did get a couple of bad endings. I made a couple of wrong decisions in certain floors where I ended up dying before I was able to. I just kind of backtracked and just made the right decision. And then eventually I was able to get the one true good ending at the final showdown and beat the monster and win the bet in the mall. And yeah, that's the main thing I liked about this one is the gameplay aspect to it and how it's just done right here. Unlike Trick or Trapped, if you've seen my review for that, it's done right here. This is a proper like functioning game aspect to this book, and it just makes it very enjoyable, very entertaining. You're actually trying to achieve a certain goal in this book, and it's structured properly, and that's really what I like about it. And there's also a nice variety of different things that happen in each floor. It's not just a real basic like scavenger hunt where you go to a floor, um, find the item, and then move on to the next floor. There's something that happens in each one. Some of it is kind of fun, and you have to like make the right decisions to survive and escape the floor and go back to the hub where you then move on to another floor. For example, one of them you have to find a bottle of poisonous perfume, and there's a few different decisions you can make in this floor. And this floor also has one of the puzzles I showed you, which is the maze, and you have to find the right bottle. Some of the other things that can kind of happen are kind of corny. There's one floor where you have to find a pair of baby booties, like baby shoes, I guess, and you there's like this glitter on them, I think, or glitter on like the mannequin that has them, or something like that. I guess I don't remember. I'm already forgetting. And what happens is it touches you and it turns you into like a cardboard figure, and you have to have your friend help you figure out how to get back to like a normal human. That was kind of weird. I don't know what to say about that, but yeah, there's just something different that happens on each floor, and it has a nice variety to it, even though it's kind of a linear story arc with just one goal you're trying to achieve. It is a little bit easy. Like I said, it's not exactly the most challenging thing, especially reading it at this age. I'm sure when I was younger, it was probably a little bit more of a challenge then, which is probably why I enjoyed these a lot more as a kid. Um, one aspect to this main story arc that I didn't really care for as much, it wasn't a big deal, but it's just a slight annoyance, is that there is more than one good ending in this story arc when you reach the final battle. There are a couple of, they're like lesser good endings, if that makes sense. There's one true good ending where you have to collect all the items and then use them in the final showdown to defeat this monster. But then there are also a couple of good endings that are reached a little bit more easily, and you don't necessarily have to use all of these items and things to get that good ending. Like you can actually skip some of the floors, I think, and there's like a certain decision you can make where it doesn't even ask you if you've been to the floors or if you have to use like certain items. So that aspect of it kind of takes away from the sense of satisfaction that you get from getting the one main true ending is what I'm trying to say. I can't talk right now. But yeah, that's just kind of a minor complaint. It doesn't really detract from this book all that much. And then the other story arc, the smaller one, is kind of the same thing. You're in the mall and you have to stay in there until 1 o'clock in the morning. But instead of going like on this scavenger hunt and going through all these different floors, basically these random monsters just start coming alive and chasing you. There's a werewolf, there's a vampire. Basically, you're just running around the mall. You can choose to go to the rooftop, and there's this scene with these gargoyles. That was kind of cool. I like that. There's also a scene where you can run into these mannequins that come to life in the story arc, and they put you on trial. It's like this jury of mannequins um, determining whether or not you're guilty. And that was kind of entertaining, I guess. It was kind of funny. I liked it. But most of the paths in the story arc just kind of led to dead ends. There were, I think, like a couple of good endings in the story arc, but they're not necessarily all that satisfying because there's nothing really you're trying to achieve in this story arc. There's no gameplay aspects to it. It's just kind of, this one just feels like a filler story arc. There just wasn't a whole lot going on with it. It was just there. It wasn't bad at all. Like I said, I enjoyed some of the scenes in it. It was still a little bit entertaining. But the highlight of this one is definitely the scavenger hunt story arc. And it's really good, honestly. This might be one of the best story arcs in all of GYG that I've read so far. And I really other than like those couple of good endings, the lesser good endings you can reach somewhat easily, I really don't have too many complaints with it. The one thing that I guess I was a little bit disappointed with is it didn't quite capture my imagination as much as it did when I was a kid, but I think that can be said for most of the GYG books at this point. I think I might have mentioned this in one of my other reviews for these. Um, these books, I don't know, for whatever reason, these ones I was just enthralled with when I was a kid. The entire GYG series, this was my favorite series. I just felt so engaged and immersed in these stories. I was just excited to jump into these, and like I love the challenge aspect of it. It felt like I was right there in the story. Of course, if you've read these, you know that like you are the character in these books. They're written in second person, and they have lost their magic on me a little bit, and that's probably just because I'm getting older. I'm 27 now, and these books just don't quite have that same level of magic for me that they used to, which I mean is understandable. But I still enjoy reading them. They're still entertaining. I wouldn't be reading them if I didn't enjoy them at all. But I think now at this age, I prefer to just read the regular Goosebump stories at this point. But I am still excited to go through these and finish this series and finally do a ranking of all of them. And I might occasionally, from time to time, like revisit some of my favorite ones. And I will just say that this is probably going to be one of my favorite ones. I can foresee this falling into at least my top 15, possibly my top 10. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. But yeah, this one, if you're looking for like one of the more gameplay oriented GYGs, and again, this one isn't a special edition, so it's not going to be too challenging. It's not a linear plot. It does have the two story arcs to it. But this one is definitely a very competent and well written, more gameplay focused one. So if I had to rate this one on a 5-star basis, I'm probably going to give it, I'm thinking a solid 4 stars for this one for right now. I might change my ratings for some of these as I continue to read through them. Again, I tend to rate these books relative to one another, and I do that for like all of the Goosebumps series and like the Nightmare Room series that I'm reading. I tend to rate the books like relative to one another, so they might change a little bit over time. But I'm thinking a solid 4 stars for this one. And really, what just keeps me from giving it a perfect rating is, again, the smaller story arc. That one just felt kind of like filler. It was just okay. It wasn't bad, but it just felt like it was taking up page space, is really all it did. Honestly, in my opinion, we could have ditched that story arc and even expanded on the story arc with the floors and made that one more challenging, a little bit bigger. I would have been fine with that. But yeah, Shot Till You Drop Dead. Have you guys read this one? Let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments. This was a great book, and that's all I have for today, guys. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.